Hey guys, welcome back to Barry's Corner. It's Emily here, and today I'm going to be giving you book recommendations based on the Encanto characters. So if you don't know what Encanto is, it is a new animated movie that Disney has out on Disney Plus. Go check it out right now. It is amazing. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, the writer of Hamilton and In the Heights, is the person that produces the music. So many Hispanic families, just like my own, have felt really seen by this movie, and I love the characters. A lot of people feel connected to a specific character, so I thought that I could give you book recommendations based on a specific character, and maybe you guys can take away a book or two that kind of represents who you are. There are a lot of family members, so let's get this intro out of the way. Please subscribe, comment down below, and like this video. All of my social links are down in the description box below, as well as my Amazon wishlist if you would like to gift me a book. Now let's get on to the video. The first person we have to talk about, of course, is Miravel. She is the one child that was not born with a gift. She's constantly trying to prove herself useful to her family, and now in the movie she's trying to pair everything back together and save the magic, and for this I chose Fangirl. The reason I chose Fangirl is because it follows a girl named Kath, and she is having some family troubles of her own. She is a twin, and they go to college, and her twin doesn't really want her to be around anymore. Her twin wants to live her own life. Back at home, the father's kind of going through stuff, the twin's kind of going through stuff, and she kind of feels alone, very, very alone. She also writes fan fiction, and her teacher is thinking that fan fiction isn't a real art. It really isn't real writing, and so she's trying to prove herself to her professor, and then also there's a bunch of like romance that happens as well, but overall she just does not feel like she fits in, and she's trying to prove herself to everybody in her family and to her professor, and it literally just screams Miravel so much. I really enjoyed Fangirl. I read it a couple years ago, and I think it's a really good staple if you haven't read it already. Next up is Isabella, and she is the oldest grandchild, and she is the perfect golden child, and they put her on this pedestal that she always has to be perfect and she can never be anything less than that. She always grows flowers and beautiful things, but she realizes that what if she doesn't want to be perfect? It's putting so much pressure on her, and so for that I picked My Life Next Door. In this book, it follows a girl named Samantha Reed, and her home is neat and clean and orderly. Her mom is a local politician mom, and next door is a really rowdy house that has a bunch of children and literally roam around freely, and it's so crazy, and her mom's only rule for her child is to not go next door and play with these people because she is perfect and has to maintain her good grades and everything like that. So one day she kind of falls in love with one of the kids, and she goes next door, and she has a completely different life. She loves this different, crazy, amazing life that she has, but her mom disapproves of it, and then there's a little plot twist, so she kind of just has to pick between the life that she wants to live and the orderly life that her mom has made for her. Come on, how does this not scream Isabella? Like, this is literally Isabella to a T. I love this book. I read this in middle school, and every single time I read it, it just keeps holding up. It's one of the best young adult books I've read, and it always holds near and dear to my heart. I really think it represents Isabella well, and I haven't really heard anybody talking about this book recently, so definitely pick it up. The next character that we're going to be talking about is Louisa, and she is the strongest madrigal. She is the one that they kind of put everything on. All of the tasks are put on her because she is physically the strongest, and she feels like if she can't be of service, then is she worthless? That's kind of one of the lyrics in her song, but she just wants to relax. She's having so much pressure on her, and she's about to snap. And for this, I chose Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a mystery thriller, and it follows a girl named Sadie, and she lives in a poor neighborhood, and her mom is basically a drug addict, and she is never really around for Sadie or her sister Maddie. So she feels like all the responsibility is in her hands, and it is in her hands, and one day Maddie gets killed, and she goes off to find the killer, and she feels like all this responsibility was on her. This was her one responsibility, was Maddie, and she lost control, and now she's like, this is my life's purpose. If I can't take care of Maddie, then I have to go and find the killer. This is all I have left. It also follows a guy who runs a podcast and is looking for Sadie while Sadie is looking for Maddie's killer. A lot of stuff going on. Sadie also has a stutter, but really the pressure of the family is really what made me choose Sadie for Louisa. I really think it goes well together, but it also gives you a little kick and a little bit of fun if you want to read a mystery thriller. The next grandchild is Dolores, and she can hear a pin drop from a mile away, but the problem is she doesn't really feel like she is seen in her family. They kind of just use her for whatever tasks they need her for, but in reality she just wants romance, and so one of the tasks that they really use her for is to hear what Mariano, who is Isabella's future her fiance, see how he feels about Isabella and what's going on, but in reality, she just wants romance herself. And for this, I picked The Kiss Quotient. The Kiss Quotient is an adult romance novel, and it follows Stella Lane, who has autism. So she has everything in her life, like a really good career and a good family, and just nice home, but what she really craves is romance and a connection with somebody, but she can't because with her autism, it's really hard to be touched a certain way or to feel a romantic connection between her and somebody else. And so just like she doesn't really feel like it'll never happen, a romance will never happen, Dolores also feels like she will never find love, but maybe at the end of both of their stories, they find somebody that they can be with, and I love that for them. Like, I really think that it's so cute. In The Kiss Quotient, Stella hires Michael to kind of teach her how to be in a romance. Dolores doesn't have that, but I still feel like their little hearts are kind of similar, and I love it. The second to last grandkid, I know that there's a lot, is Camilo. And Camilo shapeshifts, and he also is the kind of family clown. He loves putting a smile on people's face, specifically his mom, Pepa. And so I picked Akatar. Akatar is a Beauty and the Beast retelling with fairies, and Feyre kills a fairy and has to live out the rest of her life in Prythian to repay her debt. I chose this because the High Fae that finds her Tamlin can shapeshift as well. I believe it's into this like lion beast type thing. I can't really explain it. But also, a lot of the times, Tamlin is trying to make Feyre feel better, and also a lot of the times when Tamlin has a lot of anger issues, okay? We see this more in the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury. Feyre really tries to make Tamlin feel a little bit better, and Tamlin just snaps. There is a certain scene in Encanto where Pepa is talking to Camilo, and Camilo is really trying to make her feel better, and she like gets scared or something and zaps him with thunder. And there's a scene in Akatar, I believe A Court of Mist and Fury, where Tamlin just like loses it and kind of hurts Feyre. So I felt like it was cool, the shapeshifting. I don't really own a lot of books with animals or shapeshifting in them. I do want to read more fantasy, but I thought this would be a good read. For the last grandchild, Antonio, he is the cutest and most adorable little grandchild ever. His gift is to talk to animals. And so again, I don't really have a lot of animal reads, so I picked Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. As I said, I don't really have a lot of books with animals in them, so I chose this for the heart of Antonio, which is his pureness and his softness and his kindness. This follows a girl named Ruthie. This is an adult romance, and she works at a retirement villa, and she has for years. She doesn't really need to work here, but she really, really wants to. And one day, a new owner takes over the villa and wants to just turn it into something else completely, and she becomes a spokesperson for these people because she never wants to see this place go. And of course there's a little romance with the son of the guy who is now owning the retirement villa. The reason I chose this is, one, because she is really the spokesperson for these people that feel unheard, and so is Antonio in a sense, because nobody really understands what these animals want, and Antonio finally understands them and tries to listen to them and kind of shifts the balance between humans and animals. And also I chose this book because this is an adult romance, but it's one of the purest I've ever read. It's definitely a good intro for adult romance if you are trying to get into something that's not so spicy, but it still has like that little bit of a twist and is in the older range. This is the perfect book for you. It is such a pure adult romance book, just as Antonio is super pure as well. For the children of Abuela, I'm going to put them with their husbands just to save a little bit of time. So we have Julieta and Agustin, and for them I put All This Time. Julieta can heal you with whatever she cooks, and Agustin doesn't have a gift. So I really chose them because they can connect to Miravel the most. I feel like out of all of the children to parent ratio, theirs is the best. They really just stand up for their daughter, and it is the cutest thing ever. In All This Time, this follows a guy named Kyle, and he has a girlfriend named Kimberly, and on their graduation night she wants to break up with him. And so right after she tells him that, they get into a car accident and he wakes up with a brain injury and Kimberly dead. And so he's going through all the stages of grief, but also he meets a girl named Marley who is also going through a loss of her own, and they kind of repair each other. And so it's just kind of crazy. And even though this sounds like, why would we put Julieta and Agustin for this novel, the reason is the friendship dynamic and also the family dynamic is the strongest that I've ever seen in any book ever. Kyle speaks and truly connects with his mom more than any main character I've ever seen before. I really like their dynamic, also the friendship dynamic, because Julieta and Agustin and Miravel, their family dynamic is more than just family, it's friendship and love, and it's amazing, and I truly feel like in this book it shines through. For Tia Pepa, her mood controls the weather, and Theo Felix also does not have a gift, and for them I chose Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. In Red at the Bone, there's an unexpected teenage pregnancy that pulls two African American families from different social classes together, and the reason that I chose this is because one, we love the representation that Theo Felix brought in with his children now, and it was just so cool to see an Afro-Latinx shown in the media, which I don't think I've ever seen before in a Disney film. Like, I guess with Princess and the Frog, but they weren't Latinx, like, you know what I'm saying? And with this also brings the representation, but also Tia Pepa is very spicy. Like, she has a lot of moods, and Theo Felix is so loving to her, and just like the main characters in this story, the teenage pregnancy, the girl that had the baby, is very spicy. She has a lot of emotions that are kind of mixed, and the boyfriend of hers is in love with her. Like, would do anything for her, will do anything for this child, and that dynamic, you will see how much it shines like Tia Pepa and Theo Felix. I mean, the endings are a little bit different, but just in general, I feel like their aura matches. 2 more to go, guys. We're almost done. Next is Bruno. Bruno has a gift of prophecies and giving you guys visions, but he was kind of cast out of the family because everybody thought that he just gave negative visions and they thought it was all his fault. And for him, I chose Shatter Me. In Shatter Me, it follows a girl named Juliet who her touch is lethal, and she has a really, really kind heart, but everybody is so mean and harasses her and bullies her. And one day she tries to pick up a fallen child and she kills him, so she is put into an insane asylum. And so in this book, she kind of is casted out and put into this insane asylum, just like Bruno is casted out and goes off to wherever he goes to, wink wink. And so in this book, she kind of learns to be more of herself, not just in this book, but in the whole series. Juliet really tries to learn to live up to her potential and see the goodness in her powers, and Bruno by the end does the same thing, and I love that so much. I really think Juliet and Bruno are so awkward and so have many insecurities inside, and they just reflect each other so well. So I really thought that this would be a good book to recommend. Now the last character is Abuela, and Abuela is seen as a family villain. She has gone through a lot, but she kind of takes it out on her family to be the best and never let go of this miracle that she received after her husband died. And so for her, I am choosing an emotion of great delight. In this book, we follow Sadie, and it is after 9/11, and America has officially declared war on Iraq. And so basically she is going through a lot. Her brother died, her father's in the hospital, her mom is severely depressed, her sister hates her guts, and honestly, her herself, she's just depressed. Like, she is going through it. A year before, in 2002, she lost her best friend, and now in 2003, it kind of just shows where she is in life. It kind of goes back and forth. And so just like Abuela lost her husband, she lost her brother, she lost her best friend. She's going through a lot of losses personally, even if they haven't died yet, and she just feels like she has to keep everything together. Like, she feels like she has to keep the family afloat by going to college and going to school and getting all these good grades and everything. And just like Abuela feels like she has to keep this family afloat by being perfect and holding on to this miracle after her husband died. And even though we see Abuela as this super like tough villainous character who is ruining her family and breaking her family apart, we also we saw her background and we feel sorry for her, but we didn't get the full extent of that. And in this, I feel like this is the full extent of Abuela, and I feel like it shows all the pain and heartbreak that she had to go through, and I really think it's perfect for her character. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Tell me what character you feel like you are most like, and tell me which book that you feel like you will pick up or you have read before. I love you guys so much. Please subscribe, comment down below, and like this video. Please do whatever you want to do, and goodbye!